Hi you guys, it's Arielle. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to this week's podcast. I'm feeling very chatty today. I have been on a lot of guided tours in Paris this week, and so I've done a lot of listening. I'm ready to do some talking. I feel like the list of topics for today's podcast is very long. The reason why I've been going on so many tours, and I'm very much in my academic era, like every evening revolves around reading and research and writing. It's because I'm currently in the process of writing so many guides. As you guys know, I just finished writing my Fontainebleau guide. And if you are familiar with Fontainebleau, actually, it is a small village, a small town that's about an hour away from Paris. It's a really nice day trip. And I have been writing the guide for that town for over a year. And I want to make a video to announce it, but I have a problem. I am very much a perfectionist in a way. Like, I will leave no stone unturned. I need to know the answer to everything, and it just sends me down rabbit holes that are far too long. Like, if someone explains something to me on a guided tour, I have a follow-up question, I'll research that leads me to more follow-up questions, and it's just endless. So that's why the guides take me so long to write, and the video that I'm making for Fontainebleau to announce it, like the history of Fontainebleau, is taking me extra long because I started writing that video and then I realized that Fontainebleau, like the castle in Fontainebleau, is linked in a way to the castle of Versailles. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to be an expert on both chateaus, then I need to study both of them, which has led me to doing every single guided tour at Versailles. You guys may have seen on my main channel, I just posted sort of a little vlog explanation video of Marie Antoinette's, or the Queen's Hamlet. Anyways, yeah, that is basically what's consuming the entirety of my time at the moment. I feel like I have something in my eye, and I don't know if it's a hair from my bangs or something else. Speaking of bangs, you may have noticed, I think this is the first video on my second channel that I'm filming with my new haircut. This was such a random, impromptu decision. Basically, I wanted to film an interview with my hairdresser in Paris for a video that's upcoming on my channel, and as we're cutting my hair, I was like, do you think I could have bangs? Like, I've always wanted bangs, but I feel like my forehead's too small. And she was like, no, I think it would look great on you. And I was like, oh, well, let's do it then. She's like, really? We're just gonna give you bangs? And I was like, yeah, full speed ahead. And so I'm interviewing her as she's cutting my hair, as she's giving me these bangs. And I think it turned out really great. I mean, it's tough. What I've learned with bangs is that they look so cute on day 1 or 2 after washing your hair. But by day 3, they definitely have like accumulated forehead sweat and sunscreen and face cream. Like, everything I put on my forehead, my bangs accumulate. And so I'm finding that I'm washing my hair more often. And if I don't wash my hair, then I don't like my hair. And then I don't film. And it's becoming a bit of a problem. But anyways, I do like them. I think it's a very different look. I think it's very, very cute. And I look identical to my mom. I'll put a picture on screen of her and I. She's had bangs for as long as I can remember, and we have pretty similar hair color. And I just feel like now we look even more alike than we did before. So yeah, I'm in an experimental hair phase. I do kind of like it. I will say summer was maybe not the best season to start with having bangs because it is so hot, hence why my hair is up in a ponytail for probably the first time in my life. I don't think I've ever filmed with my hair in a ponytail. But yeah, it's just so hot. Speaking of the heat, actually, I have a confession, and that confession is that summer is no longer my favorite season. I'm borderline annoyed by summer, and it's so crummy because I'm a summer baby. I'm born in June. My whole life, summer has been my favorite season. It's probably also been my favorite season, actually, because when you're a kid and you get summers off, you like it way more than the rest of the year. But summer has always been my favorite season until recently. The last 2/3 years in Paris during the summer have been rough. We have oscillated and are currently oscillating between 2 different temperatures. Either boiling hot, like 30, 35, 40 degrees, or pouring rain and thunderstorms. So it's just like you can never have a nice summer day where you're enjoying walking out and about in a cute summer dress and you're not worried about being rained on or that it's too cold and you're not sweltering and melting in the heat. It's just been, I mean, I hate to rant about it because there are great things about summer, but the weather has been very challenging in the past couple years. And especially in a city like Paris, you feel those challenges a lot more than I think you would in a city like Toronto, where my family is, where air conditioning is very common. Here in Paris, it's not just that it's that it's hot and there's not a lot of greenery. It is a big, dense city with buildings, a lot of concrete, a lot of cars, a lot of people. And while there are green spaces and green parks, they're not necessarily like in the middle of a neighborhood. So what that means is that when you have a day that's like 40 degrees, your apartment doesn't cool down in the evening. Like your apartment stays at 40 degrees because you don't have greenery around you that cools the space down in the evenings. Like the concrete retains the heat. And it is crazy. If you live in Paris, you might know about this area, but it's called La Coulée Verte, I think. I think that's what it's called. Basically, it's this strip of greenery. The only reason I know about it is because Jean likes to run there sometimes. I've been a couple times. And it can be 40 degrees. You could be sweltering and walking out and about in Paris, but as soon as you step in the Coulée Verte, it drops by 15 degrees. You're borderline cold, and it's because it's just this strip of pure greenery, trees, plants, shade. It really is proof of how adding greenery to a city can help cool it down in the hot summer months. And I was recently on TikTok, I saw a lot of people, I think mostly Americans who like traveled to Europe, and I know it's very shocking. Not a lot of establishments, not a lot of Airbnbs and hotels and stuff have air conditioning. And this person whose TikTok I was watching was giving an explanation as to why French people don't have air conditioning. And his reasoning, and he was so sure of himself, I was like, you do not understand. But he was like, yeah, French people think that air conditioning is bad for you, and that's why they don't install it. That is not why most Parisians, I'll speak for Parisians because that's where I live. That's not why most of us don't have air conditioning. The reason why in Paris it's not likely that an Airbnb or an apartment in Paris will have air conditioning is because you have to jump through 1,000 hoops to get an air conditioning unit approved and installed. Most people are renters, and so first you have to get the approval of your landlord, because a landlord isn't going to pay to install air conditioning in an apartment that they don't live in. Like, that's just not reality. But it's not just the landlord that has to approve, it's the entire building that has to approve it. So like the building committee, then the co-op board. And the reason why they have to approve it is because air conditioning units have, obviously there is a portion of the unit inside, but there's a secondary portion, I think the part that collects air or spits the air out. I don't know how AC works. I just know that you have to have a part of the air conditioning unit that is visible and on your balcony if you have one, or on your window. And every single building complex I've lived in Paris has had very strict regulations on what you can put on your balcony. I know, for example, I had a neighbor in one of my last buildings who just put a little bit of metallic tinsel on the balcony because they were just being infested with pigeons, and the tinsel was giving off this reflection that the pigeons didn't like, and so they wouldn't come on the balcony anymore. And my neighbor had to remove this tinsel because the building didn't like the aesthetic of it. So all that to say is, getting an AC unit installed is not as easy as it seems. And I already know our building doesn't approve them. There's not a single person in our building with an air conditioning unit. And so we're kind of just stuck with fans. I forget how I got on this topic, but I'll circle it back to the fact that it has been boiling hot in Paris and it's tricky. And I just really am looking forward to the fall. I hate to say that. That's what I said to Jean. Like, I hate looking forward to something, because you should never want to fast forward to another part in your life. Like, you should just enjoy where you are in the moment, but it's hard when you feel like you're melting. And on that note, actually, I thought it would be interesting to tell you guys a little bit about Paris in August. And sorry, I just got distracted because the herd of pigeons that have infested our building complex are going off. It's currently mating season for, no, sorry, not pigeons, seagulls. You might even be able to hear them. I hate to draw attention to it because I don't want you guys to now think about it and hear it in my videos, but yeah, it's currently seagull mating season. And so they're like, their eggs are hatching. You have baby seagulls all over the place, and they are yapping all day long. Like, they do not go to bed. I could wake up at 4 to the sound of screeching seagulls. It's horrible. It is actually unbearable. Add it to the list of reasons why I need to move. But I did call this city actually, and I was like, is there something that we can do about the mass amount of seagulls that over the past couple years have just completely taken over our neighborhood? And they were like, yeah, I mean, the reason why you're hearing them right now in August is because it's their mating season. And typically seagull mating season is June to July, but with climate change, with temperatures rising and seasons shifting as well, like, August is now their mating season, and it's just been horrendous. Even the fact that there are seagulls here is a sign of climate change. Like, I was reading about it because it really is driving me actually mentally insane, because I work from home. I hear them all day long. But yeah, what I read is with the warmer weather, they're migrating to cities and they're adapting to city life as opposed to beach life, which I think is where seagulls normally spend their time. But on the topic of August, it's such an interesting month in Paris because everybody leaves for vacation. Everybody. I mean, I'm not going on vacation, sadly, but anyone who's employed by an office is gone for the month of August. It is such a stereotype for French people, and it is so true. Like, people really do take the entire month off. And I was talking about it with my American friend who was like, how do they manage to take 4 weeks off in a row? That is so much vacation time. And I'm like, girl, when you have 10 weeks of vacation time, taking 4 weeks off in the summer to spend with your family in a more enjoyable summer city than Paris, if you can take that time off, you will, right? Like, that's 4 weeks out of 10 is not that many. And so it's just such a huge culture difference from someone who is from the US or for Canada, where the norm is like 2 or 3 weeks of vacation. And it's not just having less vacation that's a norm, because I know my sister, I think she has 3-ish weeks, but she does not take them because it's really looked down upon, I feel, when you take vacation. Even I experienced this when I was working in Toronto, although I don't like to make that comparison anymore because it's been so long since I've actually lived in Canada. I don't know what the work culture is like, but I definitely did feel judged almost when I requested to take time off, because they made you feel like you weren't dedicated to the company. And then you start worrying, will I get promoted, or, will they fire me because I'm not devoted enough to the company? And so I do see that even if people get vacation time, they're hesitant to even use it. But yeah, in August, everybody who's a resident in Paris leaves. And it's such an interesting month to visit as a tourist, because the positive side is that you have an emptier Paris. The metro isn't as crowded because people aren't going to work. The streets aren't as crowded because people aren't going to work. There's less people in restaurants and in shops because all of the residents aren't there to eat in the restaurants or go shopping. But on the downside, because everybody goes on vacation, all of the local and smaller businesses close. The day I'm filming this, I actually have Jean running around for me. Thank you, Jean. Picking up things from the artisans, like Marais from Terra, whose soap I buy for my hair. She's closed for the month of August, and so I have to stock up on soap now in order to get me through until September. So yeah, it's tough to say if I would recommend visiting in August. I think it is, honestly, it's a breath of fresh air to walk in Paris and not feel crowded all the time. But it is kind of crummy because you just know that all the good restaurants close, all of your stores that you normally go to are closed. So yeah, and speaking of visiting Paris, I thought I could quickly talk about areas that I would recommend booking a hotel or an Airbnb in if you're visiting. There were two moments last week that really made me reflect on the neighborhoods that I'm recommending to people, because this is a very common question in my consultation calls, and I will make a more in-depth video on my main channel for this if you're interested. I just want to really flesh out every arrondissement properly. But the first arrondissement I want to talk about is the 5th arrondissement on the left bank of the Seine. I know this is a very popular neighborhood for people to stay in when they travel to France. It's very sought out after. And for a good reason. It's very charming. The architecture is beautiful, and you have a lot of iconic restaurants and monuments. I mean, the Eiffel Tower for one. You're close to Notre Dame, the Pantheon, all that. And recently, Jean and I went on a little date night in the 5th. We went to a cinema called L'Épée de Bois. And then after that, we went to one of our favorite restaurants, one of our favorite non-French restaurants called Tran Tran Zai, which serves Szechuan noodles. After about 30 minutes of walking the streets, we turned to each other almost in sync, and we're like, nobody here is speaking in French. Everybody's a tourist. And I just thought, like, it is so bizarre to walk down a street in a country and only hear foreign languages, not crossing a local even once. And so I think that's my first recommendation, is if you're coming to Paris for the first time, I absolutely understand wanting to stay in the 5th. And I think you should if that's an arrondissement that you're interested in. But I think if you're coming for your second or your third time, it could be interesting to diversify and maybe stay on the right bank of the Seine and have a more authentic experience by staying in a neighborhood that's semi-residential, semi-social. I think the 11th is a really good example of this. I adore the 11th. You have a huge nightlife that is catered towards locals and less towards tourists, and you still have a really beautiful architecture. You're very well connected to the center of Paris. I used to live in the 11th. It was a quick 10-minute metro ride to work. Like, it was fantastic. And so yeah, I think if it's your second trip, I would definitely look to stay in an arrondissement that's not so tourist centric, just to have a different type of experience. Another arrondissement or neighborhood that I've been thinking a lot about is the Marais, which is the 3rd and 4th neighborhood. It's, I think, one of the most popular neighborhoods to visit for people who come to Paris. Everybody wants to live or stay in the Marais. And again, for good reason. It has historically been known to be a very vibrant, energetic, artistic, fun neighborhood with lots of really good restaurants and fun shops and unique artisans. And I almost hesitate to speak in the past tense, because slowly what we're seeing is that the charm of the Marais is very much being diluted. And I spoke about this in a video a couple months ago about how I was very frustrated by the fact that smaller businesses and creators and unique local shops really were being replaced by multinational companies like Krispy Kreme and Starbucks and Cézanne due to rent increases for the local businesses in the Marais. The reason why I was thinking about this is because for my main channel, I'm currently filming a video and interviewing local artisans for a video on souvenirs in Paris. And one of the artisans that I interviewed actually talked to me about the struggle of having to close their boutique in the Marais and move to the 11th arrondissement because the rent was just increasing, and how they themselves just felt like the Marais that we knew and loved is really transforming into something similar to the Champs-Élysées, which is an overhyped open-air shopping center. And so the reason why I bring all of this up is because I think, again, if you haven't been to Paris yet, it's your first time and you really want to stay in the Marais, I completely understand that sentiment. And it's a lovely place to visit and to stay, but I do think that slowly it has lost, or it is losing its charm, the charm that it's known for. And so again, if it's your second or your third time, I would suggest another neighborhood, maybe the 9th or the 11th, because both of those arrondissements are very close to the center of the Marais. Like, they're neighbors, really. The 11th and the 3rd are neighbors. But yeah, I think if you're hoping to get a more authentic experience, then on your second or your third trip, it might be nice to stay a little bit outside of the 5th, the 3rd, or the 4th. That was a very, I think, complicated way of talking about that. I'm sorry, you guys. Part of the problem with going on guided tours is that they're all in French. And my mom even said this to me when she was correcting my Fontainebleau guide, like she was proofreading it for me. She was like, you know, it's very cute. It is cute, but the way you form your sentences is like you're speaking in French, but you've translated to English. You're not speaking a way an Anglophone would. And she said it definitely adds charm to the guide, but it can be confusing at times. And I realize that when I speak in the podcast, I'm like, I am confusing myself. And I've actually started reading more books in English to get me back to my level of English speaking. But it's something that I always think about because I film my videos in English. I'm very conscious and self-conscious of my ability to speak properly in English and my vocabulary. When I'm editing and stuff, it drives me crazy that I use the word crazy so much. I'm like, Arielle, let's go. Let's use a synonym here. You can't be using crazy all the time. Oh my gosh, you guys, I just opened my list of topics for the podcast. We've covered quite a few, but number one, possibly the most important, I have some bad news. I set the summer meetup date on probably the worst date I could have chosen in September, which is the weekend of La Journée de la Patrimoine, which is a weekend where we celebrate French and European heritage. And it's one of the more special weekends in France because you have a lot of museums and monuments that are free, and not just free, but they give special and exclusive tours of things. Like, there are certain buildings, certain areas that are open to the public for one day to appreciate the French heritage and culture that they represent. So I unfortunately had picked this weekend without knowing that it was La Journée de la Patrimoine, and I have a massive filming commitment on this weekend, and I can't change that filming commitment because the only day that the atelier that I want to film is open is on the Journée de la Patrimoine. So I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should cancel the summer fall meetup or reschedule it. I would love to know what you guys think down below. I think at this point there's 12 people who signed up. So I will be emailing everyone, but yes, let me know. Let me know what you're thinking. And the date that I had picked originally was September 20th. But yeah, just the whole day I have fully committed to filming something very special. And yeah, I feel stupid that I didn't think about this weekend in advance. So yeah, let me know if I should reschedule, if I should cancel. One other meetup that I really want to do this year, I tried to organize it last year, but it was a little bit last minute, I think. I would love to do a Galentine's Day meetup in February. So it's not that I don't want to do meetups. It's not that I'm canceling this, but yeah, maybe reschedule to a later date in September or a later month in the year. You guys let me know. I'm very sorry. And yeah, like I said, anyone who signed up, I am going to be sending you a quick email. Okay, the next item that I have on my list for this podcast are some comments that I feel like I need to address from my Costco video that I put out on my main channel. Okay, I guess comparatively it's not that many, but I got a solid 5 or 6 comments of people telling me that if I just stopped buying booze, then I could afford to buy Le Creuset. And I'm sorry, I'm not giving any context, but basically in my Costco video where I gave a tour of the Costco in Paris, I showed a Le Creuset pan that Jean and I have been eyeing for, over a year. Like every time we go, we hesitate. We're like, should we buy it? And it is not a pan, sorry. It's a skillet. I think that's what it's called. Basically a pan where it has the ridges and you grill things on it. So we've been considering buying it for a while. It's 100 euros and we've just never gone through with it. And so after I passed the section with the Le Creuset pan and I talked a little bit about it, we moved to the alcohol section in Costco and we bought a couple of bottles of wine and some cocktail freezies just for fun. And people in the comments were saying like, oh, well, if you stop buying booze, you could afford the Le Creuset. And I'm just like, guys, here's the thing. I feel like sometimes people don't know me well, or if someone just stumbles on my channel, they don't really know who I am as a person. But I am no longer someone who just wants to accumulate things. Like, I don't want to buy something that I'm not going to use a lot. You know, it's not necessarily about the cost. I do think that Le Creuset and Staub, I think that their cookware is very durable. It will last a lifetime. That's not my issue. It's just, I don't actually think that Jean and I would get a lot of use out of a skillet pan. Like, as much as it would be fun to have it, if we're just using it twice a month because we don't cook that much meat, is it really worth accumulating another item? You know, I always, whenever I buy things, I always think, first of all, I reflect on it for a long time, and then I think to myself, like, is this actually something I need, or is it just something that I've seen trending on social media that people hype up and now I feel like I want it too? And I just feel like Le Creuset anything falls into that category because it has become quite a trendy and popular brand. And so that's number one, is I don't want to buy something that I don't think I'll use often. And number two is that for items like Staub and Le Creuset, I honestly prefer to buy them secondhand just because they are so durable. I am pretty conscious with my consumption habits. You guys know that most of my clothes I buy on Vinted. Most of my clothes I buy secondhand. A lot of our furniture we try to buy secondhand, except for really big pieces like couches and technology. I buy a little bit less secondhand just because I use it to film and I can't use older devices to film because the quality is not as good. But all that to say, like, I'm very conscious of my consumption. And because of the quality of Le Creuset and Staub, I really do feel like they are things that you can buy secondhand or that can be passed down to you from family members or whatever. And so those are the two reasons why I didn't buy Le Creuset. The comments really made it feel like people thought I was some alcoholic binge buying wine instead of a pan, and that's just really not it. I don't know, you guys, I was pretty clear in that video, like, the bottles of wine that we bought, we maybe bought one for us, but I always just like to have a bottle of wine on hand if I'm going to someone's house for dinner or if I'm having company over. Like, I think to me as well, telling someone to stop buying something so that they can buy something else doesn't make sense if the thing that they're buying is linked to a type of happiness. And I would say that a bottle of wine, for example, is linked to socializing and spending time with people. And I'm not saying that it's required to do that, but a €5 bottle of wine gives a level of enjoyment that I wouldn't want to trade in for a pan that I won't get that same enjoyment from. I am not explaining this well in any sense. I think it's very similar to when you hear on the news people saying, oh, well, if you stop eating avocado toast, you could save up for a house. Or if you stopped getting a coffee once a week, after 10 years, you could have saved $50,000. And it's like, yes, you can save money. Saving money is important. But if having a coffee out with a girlfriend on the terrace of a cafe in Paris once a week brings you joy, it brings you socialization, it brings you community, I don't think the answer is to sacrifice that coffee to save up to buy a frying pan. Sorry, I know this sounds ranty. I just felt like I had to reiterate why I didn't buy that pan. It wasn't because I was buying wine. Okay, next up I have a couple of social media related topics. Number one, I have to tell you guys about an experience I recently had with a brand. Before I get into that story time, I will just say There is definitely a negative perception of content creators in France. A lot of French people don't think that influencers or content creators work hard. Most think that they are annoying or childish or immature when they're filming in public, that content creators don't add value, and that content creators have it too easy, like take a picture, post it, and earn $1 million, which I can tell you is so far from reality, but there really is this negative perception of content creation in France. And there's also this idea that influencers and content creators are useless. And I say this because I have been rejected a lot in my time as working as a content creator in Paris. And I'm not talking about getting rejected from brands or from sponsorships. I'm talking about getting rejected by people that I want to interview. On my main channel, I have 2 series, one where I cover restaurants that I love and recommend, and where I cover boutiques and products that are artisanally made or made in France, and I think make really good souvenirs to bring home, as opposed to buying something generic like an Eiffel Tower keychain, for example. And I really like to interview some of the artisans and some of the chefs because I think their stories are interesting, they're inspiring, they're incredibly talented, and I just want to share that with you guys. Like, I think it adds dimension to the story that I'm trying to tell, you know? And I never ask for like money or free products. Like, I do not take free products ever. I'm so firm with that, and I feel bad sometimes because a lot of the shops that I have done these videos on, where I've showcased them in like a souvenir video or a restaurant video, and I go back because I actually buy things from these stores very often, like the soap from Terranova and jewelry from We Are Paris, and the list is literally infinite. Oh my gosh, Verpal, I can't even tell you how much jewelry I have purchased from Verpal. But yeah, I never have this expectation that I'm going to receive any type of payment or free product, and I don't want it because I think that all work deserves to be paid for, and I want to pay them because I think their work is fantastic and I genuinely like their products. And I will just say that every single person who I've featured in an interview on my channel has been so grateful and shocked at how many of you guys go out and support them, whether that's purchasing something or having dinner somewhere, or I don't know, the chef from Marais, for example, he was like, Arielle, like when your video went out, you turned me into a superstar. Like, people came into the restaurant, they wanted a picture with me. And he told me straight up, he's like, I really never saw value in marketing and in content creation before I agreed to do this interview. I was so skeptical. I was like, what am I doing this interview? Like, what is going on here? And he's like, I'm just so grateful for the business that you've been able to bring. And for a lot of these artisans, like, that business is essential because I focus on small businesses and small artists. Like, they're not making millions. It's a hard life for sure. And they're just so grateful, not just for people coming in and buying things, but for people who show interest in their passion, in what they're creating. That, I think, is the most important thing to them. And so I hear consistently from the people that I've interviewed that they're just so grateful for you guys, and they have seen the value in being put on social media. And the reason why I've gone down this whole rabbit hole is because while I do have really positive experiences with the people that I've interviewed who have now really become friends, honestly, I've also had a lot of rejections, and mean rejections of people really just saying like it's useless what I'm doing and they don't want to work with a content creator, which is absolutely fine, but there's just a way of saying it. And we're going to circle back to my story time now, because there was a brand who reached out to me on Instagram, and they sent me a generic message, which I didn't even answer to because I don't respond to generic messages. I don't like messages that don't use my name or who don't have any information about why they want to work with me. If I'm sending an email to someone that I want to interview, I promise you that email is long. Like, I'm going through why I like their brand, why I want to feature them on my channel. It would mean the world to me to be able to interview them. Like, I gush my adoration for the people that I want to interview, because I truly am inspired by them. And so this company in Paris sent me a generic message on Instagram like, hi, we would love to invite you to see our atelier, to see where we make our pastries, give you a tour, and we'll send you home with some treats. No worries, just come anytime you're visiting Paris. And so what does this message tell me? This message tells me, one, they don't even know my name, and two, they don't actually know my content, because I don't visit Paris. I live here. All of my content is about Paris. And so you could just tell it was a message that they copy and pasted. So I didn't even answer it. Then they sent a follow-up message a couple weeks later and were like, hey, just checking in, like, the invitation's always open. Anytime you want to come by, we'd love to show you behind the scenes and send you home with some treats. And I was like, even though they sent me these generic messages, they are following up, and it is rare to come across a French brand that wants to work with a content creator. So I will accept. I don't know how else to describe my emotions and why I accept it, but I'm just like, okay, here's a brand that wants to work with content creators, like, great. It's so rare. Let's do it. And it took me an hour to get to their atelier. I get to their atelier, I do a little tour behind the scenes. They tell me about their business, about what they create. I ask them questions about their history. And then they ask, like, how I could put them into my videos or into my guides, and, like, if they could be a part of that. And I'm like, basically, you wanted me to come out here to do a tour, and you wanted me to promote you for free on my channel. And I don't really like that, because, like I said, I think all hard work deserves to be paid for. And in the same way that I want to pay when I go and eat at the restaurant where I've interviewed the chef, or pay for the soap and the jewelry at the establishments where I filmed interviews, because I value their hard work, and I just think that hard work deserves to be paid for. It kind of rubs me the wrong way when a brand outright asks me to do something for free. And on top of that, they sent me home with one treat. One little treat. And I asked them if they could also throw in a macaroon, because I'm also doing a list of, I'm ranking the different places where you can buy macaroons in Paris. I was like, oh, well, I might as well try one while I'm here. And so they gave me the pastry and the macaroon, and I was back on my way to travel 1 hour back home to my apartment. And so all in all, this experience was 3 hours out of my workday. What I got out of it is that this brand wanted me to promote them for free on my social media. And I just think that it's really inconsiderate to send someone a generic message without even their name, to send someone home with one treat after they literally spent 3 hours listening to your pitch about your brand, and then asking you to work free. It blew my mind, and I was like, never again. Never again will I answer a generic message. Like, I was shocked, honestly. I was shocked by how eager they were to take advantage of a content creator, and I really didn't like it. I think it really still just gets under my skin, because it's so, like, our ways of working are so different between me and this brand. Like, I would never ask for something for free. I would never assume that I'm going to get something for free. Like, to do that would mean that you really don't value what the person is making, and you don't think it's worth paying for. And I think it kind of offended me, actually, that they didn't think what I do on my channel, what I write in my guides, is worth paying for. No, again, not that anything on my channel, not that anything in my guides comes from brands who have paid to be there. Like, all of the things I recommend are genuine things I recommend, and I intentionally pay for everything because I want the consumer experience. I talked about this in another video when I say, like, if I stay at a hotel, I don't ask to stay for free. If I go to a restaurant, I don't ask to eat at that restaurant for free, even if I am going to promote them in a video, because I need to know what the customer experience is like. And the only way you're going to know that is if you pay with your own money that you've worked hard to earn, and you enjoy or you don't enjoy that experience, and you can feel it. Like, there was one restaurant, and I'll have to tell the story time on my main channel one day, but it has given me nightmares. Like, this restaurant has given me nightmares for over a year. Every time I think about it, my palms get sweaty. And the reason it angers me so much is because I went to this restaurant, which cost a lot of money, and I was ticked off that I had spent that money for such a terrible experience. And so I just think that you can't really evaluate things without bias if you don't pay for them. You'll always have a better impression of something if you get it for free than if you pay for it. So that was topic number one. Topic number two and three actually are things that I've been thinking about for quite some time when it comes to my own channel and the content that I want to create, because I'm so conflicted. I love making educational content. Like, I really love to talk about the history of France or the significance behind something. I don't like to just visit a place and know nothing about it, and I'm very curious, and so I like to share what I learn on my channel. And to give you an example, I recently did a video on my channel of the Passage de Paris, the covered shopping arcades, and instead of just doing a vlog and a tour, I thought it'd be interesting to incorporate elements of history and talk about how they were built and how they were used and their importance at the time of their construction, all that kind of stuff, to give you a more holistic perspective of what the shopping arcades are and what they meant to society outside of just being a place where you could purchase things and all that. And the video didn't do great. It is what it is. It didn't do great, but it took a lot of time. It took a lot of research, a lot of writing, a lot of filming. It was a video that took a lot of time. Then a couple days later, what was the video that I posted? Yes, a few days after that video went on the Passage de Paris, I posted a video commenting on the fact that a Parisian was fined 150 euros for carrying a plant in the metro. And full transparency, that video took me 35 minutes to film. It took me 25 minutes to edit and 5 minutes to create the thumbnail. So it took 1 hour of work. So we are at opposite ends of the spectrum here. We have the Passage de Paris, which took days of research, and we have the commentary on a recent news event that took an hour worth of work. And the video that performed significantly better was the commentary on the plant fine. And then after that, I posted a vlog of Costco, which again did really well, but the Costco vlog definitely took more time to film and edit, but it wasn't as labor intensive. Maybe that's not the right word, but it wasn't as much work as researching some of the more historical videos, like the arrondissement videos, where I cover the history of an arrondissement from the Neolithic period to today. And it's so hard because I want to produce that kind of content that's like really well researched and more educational than just social commentary. But it's very clear that the videos that do well are the social commentary videos. And so I'm very much at this phase in my channel and my content creation where I'm having to decide, like, do I stick with what I love in making researched and informative content, or do I do the videos that are more clickable and more appealing, I guess, to a wider audience, which are the more dramatic, the more story time-ish videos? It's tough. It's hard. I'd love to know what you guys think about it, because I think when I look at my workload, when I look at how long it takes me to produce a certain type of video, it's hard for me to be like, yes, I want to produce the video that takes 5 days worth of time to make that will generate 1% of the views a video that takes me 1 hour to make will produce. Do you know what I mean? It's hard. I don't know how to tackle that. And it's making me really question the direction that I'm taking my content. So I would love to know your thoughts on that. And kind of linked to that is my third topic, which is recently on TikTok. And I don't know a lot about this because I'm not on TikTok a lot, but there is I think she's a fashion content creator. I don't know 100%, but her name is Maline White, and she recently got married, and she created a lot of content from her wedding. Like, she filmed a lot with her bridesmaids, with her fiance, her husband, with her family, all of it on her wedding day. And then she continued to film things on her honeymoon with her husband. And I was seeing it and I was like, how does she do it? I can tell you there are weeks where my job ruins our lives. I know that's so dramatic, but I don't mean ruins our lives, actually. I mean ruins our relationship. And the reason that I say that is because when you're filming, there are a couple things that happen. You act slightly differently. Like anybody who knows the camera's on them acts a little bit differently than they would if a camera wasn't on them. Like I can tell you, if I'm just lounging around the house, I'm in my pajamas, I don't have my makeup done, like I pin my bangs back, I look like a gremlin, right? Like we all act a little bit different when we're not filming. When I'm filming, I'm focused on my work. I'm focused on what I'm filming and doing a good job of that, and I'm focused on what I'm saying, and my mind is on content creation. My mind is not on Jean. So if I film something like a date night, for example, or if I film something that we're doing, if we're on a weekend trip or if we're going to dinner, like that is a work dinner. It's not a romantic dinner. I think that for viewers, social media really skews the perception of what it means to be a content creator. But if we're going to dinner and if I'm filming that dinner, I am not as present for Jean as I would be if I wasn't filming. And so I was seeing her document her honeymoon and I'm like, I really wonder how she manages to stay present and to enjoy the moment with her husband, while she's filming. Because it's so hard. When you're in content creation mode, you're constantly thinking like that I should film and that angle and I should get that and that. And it means that you can't have a conversation with someone because your brain is always running on what you should be filming and what's important to get in the video. It's been definitely hard for me because I've been doing this for about a year and a half-ish, almost 2 years now. It's been definitely something that's been a challenge for our relationship, is making sure I find that balance between work and documenting what I do in Paris, and then also having time off of the camera and just going out to eat without filming, without taking pictures. And it's so hard, right? Like when you are your brand and filming your life is your job, it's really hard to make time for your personal life where you aren't filming anything, because when you're a content creator, everything is filtered through your brain. It's like, oh, this could be content, this could be good to share, this and this. Like honestly, it's tough. And Jean and I still haven't even reached that balance of making sure I'm allocating enough time to personal and professional. But seeing her document everything and seeing other influencers document their couples as well, I just look at that and I'm like, how do they do it? Like, how do they balance content creation with just their personal life? And it's not that I regret doing content creation full time, but there is a part of me that misses a life where I didn't take a single picture or a video, where I wasn't constantly thinking about that, to have a decluttered mind, to just do something and not worry about documenting it. That's for sure a feeling that I miss. Switching gears completely, I wanted to talk a little bit about turning 30, a little bit about my birthday, which I know I talk about this. I've talked about my birthday ever since it happened like 2 months ago. I promise this will be the last time. And I actually left this as the last topic of the podcast, so you could just click off if you don't want to hear about it. But I thought I could just quickly talk about some of the most surprising aspects of turning 30. And I'm not even talking about 30 exactly, because it's not like you flick a switch and your life is changed completely. But definitely there was a noticeable difference in some areas of my life from early to late 20s and now 30. And the reason why I want to talk about them is because in some ways I am a little bit regretful that I didn't take advantage of my younger years. I know I'm still young, but I wish that I had done things differently, I think, in my early 20s, knowing what I know now. I think the biggest difference for me is body related, health related, you could say. And I probably feel this more because I am so athletic. I work out probably 6 times a week, and not necessarily work out at the gym, but I do baseball, boxing, Muay Thai, basketball, and fitness classes like arms, abs, butt, thighs, fitness classes with weights and stuff. And so the activities are diverse. And what I noticed, probably starting at 27, 28, 29, is that the recuperation time is much longer when you're older. Anytime I do physical activity now, I have back pain, I have thigh pain, I have arm pain, and it doesn't just go away with one night's sleep. It takes me like a week to recoup. It takes me like a week to recuperate from activities, which is problematic when you're doing so many of them. Like, you feel like you never have time for your body to rest. And this was never a problem before. And I also notice now that I get injured or I get sick a little bit easier, and it takes me so much longer to recover. And I used to look at the other girls on my basketball team who are probably 10 or 15 years older than me, and there would be periods of the season where they would be out for like months with a sprained ankle or an injured knee or whatever. And I would be like, what is wrong? How were they getting injured for such long periods of time? Like, how could twisting your knee a little bit require 6 months of recovery? And now I get it, because literally 3 weeks ago at baseball practice, I was lifting a net. I was just carrying a little net to another side of the field, and I guess I stepped weirdly. I was wearing cleats, so it's a bit harder to walk on uneven ground, but I just like slightly twisted my knee, and 3 weeks later, I'm still having trouble walking. And it's like, why is such a small injury taking a month to recover from? So yeah, that was the first thing I noticed. And the first thing I think that worries me, because sports are such a huge part of my life, I worry that my time doing sports is limited. It's also the back pain, like the back pain with my scoliosis from doing sports like baseball and basketball is debilitating. Like, I'll finish practice, I'll come home and I'll have a heat pack and I'll just be out for hours, not really able to move. So yeah, that's number one. Number two is energy. When I was in university, the amount of all-nighters I pulled to finish an essay or to go with my friends, like, I could function on 1 hour of sleep. Like, it was actually crazy. I'm telling you, I pulled all-nighters all the time, and I felt no physical effects on my body. And because I didn't need as much sleep or as much rest, I was so energetic. When I was in university, I had 3 jobs and I was going to school full time. And the reason why I say I'm a little bit regretful is because I wish that during those years when I was so energetic and so active and able to work so much, I wish that is when I had started my business and I had started my content creation. Because now, like, I'll go on a guided tour, I'll walk 20,000 steps and I'll be exhausted, and I don't want to write the notes, I don't want to film the video, and it's like, it just feels like I have a lot less energy and I can't work as many hours in a day as I was previously able to. And yeah, I just wish I had taken advantage of that when I was younger. So yeah, those are the 2 biggest personal differences I think I've noticed in my late 20s and now 30. And then another difference I've noticed is with friends. And I do talk about this quite a lot as well, but it's kind of challenging when you reach this phase of life where everybody has a partner. And it's not so hard with couples who have been together for very long periods of time, or couples who aren't very dependent. Like, Jean and I have been together for 3 years. I am naturally a very independent person. We're not in any capacity like attached by the hip. We do not do PDA. When we go to baseball practice, for example, we play on different teams. Like, we obviously live together and spend most of our time together, but when we're out with other people, we can function individually. And I especially need my own time with my own friends, doing my own things because I'm such an extroverted person. But I have noticed with friends who recently get into a couple and who are like in the honeymoon stages and stuff, you are so quickly dropped off. Like, you're the first to go when somebody gets in a relationship, and it feels kind of crummy. I think as well, on that note, it is, or I do notice now that it is harder to be friends with people who are in different relationship phases than you. For example, my friend Sam and I, we are very much at the same or at similar phase. I mean, Sam is married and her and her husband have been together for probably 6 years. So more than John and I, obviously, but we're at a very similar stage where our relationships are very stable and we have we have independent aspects of our lives and we're not attached by the hip. But our lifestyles are very different from our single friends' lifestyles who are in the dating world, who are navigating that. And it's challenging because you can no longer really relate to the challenges that your single friends go through. And there are times where I'll hear a story from someone, like a friend who's single, and she's telling me about a guy that she's met, and I really don't like the way it sounds. Like, it sounds like the guy is disrespectful, that he's not treating her the way that she should be treated, and that I don't think he's a good partner to her. And it's hard to hear those stories. Like, dating is continuous, right? Like, you date a guy for 3-4 months, it doesn't work out, you move on to the next. And so it's kind of hard to keep hearing stories like that at an age where you've really matured and become more wise and you know more what you're worth. I think it's hard listening to those stories because I feel like my friends don't know what they're worth and allow themselves to be treated so poorly by like certain guys that they're dating and stuff. And that actually links back to what I was saying about getting older and being nostalgic for your younger self and stuff like that, is that what I appreciate now is that I'm so much more, I hate using the word, but wise. Like, as you age, you obviously get more life experience and you, I think, become a better person. Like, I know that myself especially, I have become a better person in the way I communicate, in the way I act in my relationships, in my friendships, and I'm much better now at choosing friendships and obviously relationships because Jean's the best, but choosing the relationships that are the most compatible with me, that add value to my life and are good matches, as opposed to being friends with everybody and trying to make it work with all personalities and all types of people. I feel like as you get older, you are smarter, you're wiser, you make better decisions, you have learned from your mistakes. And I think that leads you to living a better, happier, healthier life. And so it's funny because I am nostalgic for when I was younger, but I really love who I have become today. And it's too bad that you can't have both at the same time. I feel like I've been talking for far too long, and I worry actually when Jean comes home and he can hear me filming, he will wait for me to finish filming. He'll either wait outside the door or he'll wait like in the lobby of our apartment. And I feel terrible. I was like, Jean, come in. But he knows that when he comes in, I'm like scattered, I'm distracted. I feel conscious filming in front of other people. So yeah, I don't want to, if Jean is waiting downstairs, I don't want to keep him waiting any longer. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching today's podcast. Let me know what you think down below. If you sign up for the summer meetup, please let me know what you think is the right solution. Again, I am very sorry that I have to cancel or reschedule, but I would love to know your thoughts. I hope you guys have a really good weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.